With me, I have Carol Mathews, the executive producer of the movie Home Run, and I was excited to be able to talk to you today, Carol. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are quite welcome. Can you give me a little bit of backdrop? What's the movie about?
The movie is about a Major League Baseball player who is a famous, wealthy, charming, and incredibly talented, and but in the inside he's a mess. And the story is how he winds up being forced to return to his hometown for various reasons, and he begins to do battles with the ghosts that live there.
What do you want people to see in this movie?
Themselves. I want people to see themselves. The movie, if you walk away, the baseball player is an alcoholic, and we learn why he drinks. We learn what he's anesthetizing. We understand that he's in pain, and we really come to love him. But the movie is great because we see a lot of other people and their anesthesia of choice, and it might not look like his alcohol or anger, but it is still an issue for them. And so lots of people go and they see themselves. We have a single mother who is struggling, and we hear her struggle. We have a father-son story. We have a romance. So there's a lot going on.
You know, it's interesting you say that we look at this hero, this star, and he's very likable. It's that people really are drawn to him. And we see that is the case. And coming to mind for me is Josh Hamilton. And people just love him so much, and they want him to succeed. And it's a little different than some of the things that we may think about who these people are and what kind of personality they may have. It's not the abrasive, it's not the jerk out there. It's oftentimes the people that we love.
Exactly. And, you know, one of the things that I like the most about Home Run is you really get that old thing that our parents taught us when we were kids, you know, don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
I mean, Corey, our main character, looks to have the most charmed life ever, and anyone would want to change places with him. But truly, he has a lot of pain, and no one would want to have experienced that pain. We have one woman that Corey really unleashes on in the movie. It's his sister-in-law. And he sizes her up and says, "You've never experienced a hard thing in your life." And then we find out later she's experienced some of the worst this life has to offer. And so sometimes we just size people up, and we think that if we look at them and we can tell what they're wearing or where they live, that we can quickly identify they've had a hard life or an easy life. And it's just not true.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, this is your first feature film. Can you tell us a little bit about a miracle behind this film?
Well, a miracle, I always say, is that I did one at all. And then there are a million miracles on the path to getting it into theaters. There's so many deserving films that sit in the distribution channel and never get seen. And so definitely this has been amazing, just from the fundraising to get the movie done. You know, we started fundraising 3 years ago, and it was horrible economic times at that point. Not that it's much better now, but difficult to get people to imagine investing in something like a feature, and yet the money came quickly and easily from people that really believed in it. And then from here on out, we had delays in our shoot schedule that actually opened up opportunities. So we got a wonderful director like David Boyd, who is the director of one of the directors from Friday Night Lights and Walking Dead. And he's the director of photography on many, many movies we have all seen, including Joyful Noise and Get Low and other movies that are wonderful with big stars. And to get him and to have a beautiful script, it just allowed us to have a beautiful, amazing cast. And everything feels like a miracle when you're sitting where I'm sitting and talking to you.
That's great. There are no coincidences in this,
no.
Obviously. Now,
lots of God's favor, for sure.
On the surface, it looks like a baseball movie, but it really isn't. It's a movie, obviously, about addiction. How did you come to that?
Prayer. My partner, Tom Newman, said to me, let's do a movie. Let's get one done this year. That was back in 2010. And what proceeded to happen when we just started taking steps was it just got bigger and bigger. But the first thing I did was just pray and asked God, if you were to do a movie, what would you want that message to be? And I'd love to say that I'm that pious and completely given over to prayer. But that was sort of a miracle right there that I did that and asked God first before I started. What the impression I got was just addiction and recovery and God's heart for people that are trapped. And those are people inside the church as well as outside the church.
In this movie, you're dealing and you're working with Celebrate Recovery, and I have a couple good friends here, one who heads a chapter here that meets at my church, and I've played worship for them. They're an amazing group. How did you choose to work with them?
At my church, we have a Celebrate Recovery, and I knew next to nothing about it, next to nothing. But every now and then on a Sunday morning, someone would get up and tell their story, and I'd hear those stories, and I would always say, that is absolutely God's hand at work. That is not someone who willed it or pulled themselves up by their bootstrap, but that is actually God coming in and transforming a life. So I thought, how wonderful would it be to take those stories and use them to push my baseball character along, instead of having that typical kind of preachy character that comes in and tells the main character, this is what God thinks, or this is what God's word says. We actually use those thoughts of people telling their stories to move our character along.
Now, did you have team members that actually went through a 12-step program on this?
Yeah, we did it. Let's see, Tom Newman and I did it. Micah Bernard had gone through Celebrate Recovery as well. And we had 2 of our 4 writers went through Celebrate Recovery 12-step study. And we did it all in the name of, research. And I just think God laughs at us because certainly he'll let us believe whatever it takes to get us to do what it is he needs to do in our lives. And we were all changed by having gone through the 12 steps. None of us really felt like we needed that. None of us were struggling with chemical addictions. And we got in and saw how much of our life really did get shaped and impressed and transformed from having gone through it. And quite honestly, you're never done. And many of us look forward to going through it again.
All right. And you had cast members who were actual Celebrate Recovery members as well?
No, we had a slew of extras.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. Well, they're cast members, yeah.
Yeah, so Celebrate Recovery, the Celebrate Recovery community in Oklahoma, and even some of our neighboring states, people drove in from Arkansas and Texas and came in and were extras for us, and we were so supported. But no, none of our cast members, no.
Did the folks who were Celebrate Recovery members, did they share it all with you during the project?
Well, it was because of Celebrate Recovery members and people that are participating in that program that I think our script is as good as it is. I mean, we had several testimonies in the script, as I mentioned, to kind of move our character along. And every single one of those testimonies are from people that shared their stories with us. So those words that the cast member says, those are actual words from an actual Celebrate Recovery testimony.
What was it like for you personally to work with them?
Well, they're a sordid bunch. No, I'm just kidding. I can say that because they have become like family. Micah Bernard and I have been traveling around the country speaking at Celebrate Recovery one days. Again, Mike and I both went through Celebrate Recovery and feel forever changed for having done so. And so they used to speak that, we're forever family, and we absolutely feel like we are a part of that. John Baker, the founder, was phenomenal, incredibly generous, shared his platform at every opportunity. Getting to know John and his family, his wife Cheryl and his son Johnny, who's also works full-time for Celebrate Recovery, was a great gift to us. And we consider them good friends, and they are God's at work in CR. I believe that God was calling us to do this movie about pain and addiction and recovery and what God wants to do for us. And I thought, I'm going to invite Celebrate Recovery to be a part of it. But now I believe that God is doing something really big with Celebrate Recovery, and he's invited Home Run to be a part of what he's doing there.
Nice. And I think you hit it on the head. What I've seen with them, too, they really are a family. It's very tight. Now, who is your target audience on this movie?
It's a good question. As a marketer, you have to kind of narrow your center of your target. And I would tell you, you vastly, right? Do you want non-church people to come so that they can hear, the truth about God, or do you want the church people to come? But if I had to choose, I would say the church is the target, because I believe that there's a lot of people in the church today who are struggling with an area of their life, and they feel very stuck. And that could look like a chemical addiction of some kind. It could look like an eating disorder. It could look like rage or lust, or it could look like suffocating grief. But they're struggling, and they feel alone in their struggle. They feel indicted because going to church and having, scriptures and studying the Bible and doing the worship, none of that seems to work. And they feel like that's an indictment on their faith. And this movie's for them, because it says they're not alone, that God still loves them, and he has hope for them, and he has a transformed life waiting for them, and that they are not done. And change is possible. And then for the people outside the church, I would say this movie is for them too, because I think they too are looking for things to help them with their life, but they can't seem to get a hold of this church that says once you come to Jesus, everything's okay. And they don't believe that, right?
Yeah.
And this movie says we came to Jesus, we've given our lives to Jesus, and he's at work in us. And we are a work in progress. We haven't arrived, and we still have issues in our life, but we have a God that we can walk with and garner strength from and experience a transformation with him, with his help. And I think the world wants that and is looking for that.
Boy, I think you said it all there. Carol Mathews, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. The movie is called Home Run. You opened up last week. I hope it comes to our area, and I would encourage everybody to go out and see it, church members or not. And again, Carol, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this.
Thank you.